I'm Rick Mummey, and welcome to the show. I want to pass on to you our conversation that we had with Scott Greeson and Joe Peters, a couple of stalwarts in the music scene here in the Lafayette area. Joe is now in California. Scott is in Battleground, Indiana. I'm here in Lafayette. We hooked up on Zoom to talk about their contributions to the music scene, how you can apply what they've done for us locally to your neighborhood, your community, and things that they're working on, what they've got going right now. So here's Scott Greeson and Joe Peterson. Thanks for joining us. Okay, we're with Joe Peters and with Scott Greeson. Hello, Joe.
Hi, Rick.
Hello, Scott. Hey. Scott Greeson is with us as well. Hey, Scott.
Hey, Rick.
Hey.
It's so good to be here today with you and Joe, both of you guys, two of my favorite guys who inspire me consistently. Every time I get to work with you, I feel like I've been blessed, and I'm blessed today.
Well, good for you. I can only say you're absolutely right. So, in all
total
modesty,
agreement here.
We're with Joe and Scott today, and I wanted to talk about local music scenes. They have their own sort of life, and right now, of course, it's a rough life anywhere. But they come and they go, and the local music scene anywhere is going to have peaks and valleys, but it'll also have some constant themes that run through there. And one of those things is, what are you doing in your community to encourage people to write music and to play songs and to get out there and play and to actually have something at the venues once we can get back into them to see and enjoy? And what kind of workarounds are people doing in this particularly unique period that we're in right now? Part of it in this local area here in the Greater Lafayette area and the surrounding counties and stuff, we have SAMI, which is a great group that Scott is a big part of. And Scott, tell everybody, the uninitiated, what SAMI stands for and what they do.
It's the Songwriters Association of Mid-North Indiana. It's an acronym. And we just thought that was a sweet way to say it, SAMI. And keeps it brief, but everybody knows that's a part of it, that SAMI's about songwriting.
Yeah.
And, we're big. We exist for, I say we're big on encouragement. That's the biggest thing we do. We encourage each other. And, it's about education. It's about development. It's about getting feedback about your writing and ideas about what to do with it, and just how to copyright your stuff, how to propagate your stuff out there, get it out there for other people to sing and hear and play, whether they just want to listen or maybe they want to strum their guitar to it or play piano. Just figure out ways to make that happen.
And during the sessions that you guys have, people bring things that they're working on or things that they've just written and finished, and they get some constructive criticism from around the circle, from around the table. And Joe, you've been part of that. Is that helpful to you?
I have, and in the sense that, like Scotty put it, encouragement. You always get encouraged because it's such a synergy among, these are our people. If you're a songwriter, you can kind of instantly bond with other songwriters. And so that free sharing of ideas, I'm not very good at critiquing other people's stuff because I generally like what I hear, and I'm not much of a critic. I don't criticize my own stuff either. So it's really good to bring it to others who might do that for you. And,
right.
Sometimes it's a phrase, sometimes it's a word, sometimes it's part of the song construction that you might get feedback on. But more than anything, it's just this encouragement. It's a group of people who take joy when another one has joy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just really synergistic and energizing in that sense.
A supportive environment.
Yeah, totally. It really is. I remember the first time I went to a SAMI meeting and took some songs. It was in the late 90s. And everybody just was so encouraging. I was in, it's like I've always been part of the group, and I still am. And it's because of people like Scott and others who just were there and said, yeah, brother.
A couple things I like a lot about what SAMI does. First of all, there's the Shirley Martin Scholarship, which is, Scott, for young songwriters, correct?
Correct. We just had our 20th year, and it was we had all kinds of plans about a big celebration, and we still had that. We figured out how to do that. We did it online. Uh, Shirley Martin was a part of our group, and Shirley and I had designed a young songwriters camp, and unfortunately, we never got to deliver that camp. She had a very untimely death, very unexpected, one of those that just makes your head spin. And so we were trying to figure out a way to keep her memory alive, and we did that through the Young Songwriter Scholarship. And we have had literally hundreds of songs submitted over the 20 years that we've had that scholarship, and we give the kids feedback. Not only do we award them for their efforts, but we give everybody that participates gets honest feedback, positive and encouraging feedback, and it's surprising. We know through proof that it works. They'll submit, if they start submitting, it's between the ages of 14 and 19. And if they start submitting when they're age 14 and they do it recurringly, it's crazy what you see in their growth over the years. Yeah. We even had our winner last year got feedback on her song. And by the time that she performed it out for everybody to hear for the first time, she had taken the feedback that had been given to her by the judges and enacted that. And it just made the song even stronger. And now, she's out there doing it. And this year's winner, I'm so excited. She is Abby O'Bannon. She is already got some pretty big things going in Nashville. And she actually showed up on the CBS Morning News, the national news, recently for one of the songs that she wrote about being a senior and not being able to have a traditional senior year. And
right.
It was beautiful.
All people need is some encouragement sometimes. And
yes.
that's my point about being able to apply some of these concepts in other places. I know that, Joe, in California, you're involved with people that have open mic nights and impromptu concerts, and people that are recording stuff in their homes and things. And it's helpful to have some encouragement, and you'll find people from kind of all different sort of walks of life and stuff that have these contributions they can make if somebody just says, yes, go ahead, and here's a spot and a place and a way to do it. That's the beauty of the SAMI organization. And I still think that if people are really interested in starting something like that in their communities, they could get a lot of information from Scott and from Joe about doing that sort of thing, and how you can keep it going. You don't deserve to get all the gigs you want unless you're good enough to be out there playing them. But it's nice to have them available. And another nice thing about SAMI is that people share when they know, Scott, that there's a gig somewhere.
Exactly. I recently, this summer, there were several outside events, and we had a couple instances where they needed people to fill in, and this happens all the time. And they'll send me an email or a text, or we'll put it out there on our SAMI page and says, hey, so-and-so needs somebody to play. Or even, I got a call today about a church needing somebody to play online. It happens frequently. And I'll look down my list and say, oh yeah, there's somebody to be a good fit. Or sometimes we'll just throw it out there and let the folks, make their own contacts. That's what happens most of the time. But it's that link of communication. It's that, again, encouraging each other in live performance, as well as, writing your songs. You can get out there and share them. And
you got to get people in front of other people, because there's nothing like the experience of playing 4 persons in the room.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. It's great to get to have an actual organization that provides that kind of encouragement, and can also be helpful to people in so many important ways. But a new way that's been added is Rec Room Recording, which is a recording studio located in the Tippecanoe Arts Federation building. And tell us a little bit about how that came around, Scott.
We were so blessed to get a grant from North Central Health Services. They give some beautiful grants away for artistic endeavors, and we landed one of those in 2019. And our SAMI team was able to come together. Ethan Bates, one of our SAMI members, who happens to be an acoustic engineer as well as a mechanical engineer, and he's a singer-songwriter. He and his wife are, and they're part of our group. And he said, yeah, I'll help you. Let's fill out the application. And we did. The idea actually came as a result of countless, and I mean every year, over 20 years, these kids will submit their songs. And one of the things they always say is, you know, I want an opportunity to record this, or boy, I really do wish if I had the money, and I might take my winnings and I might buy some recording equipment, or I might take some schooling on recording, or I want to take some additional writing classes, or pay somebody else to record for me, or even pay a professional musician to play on the recording. Well, we took that thought and we took that idea, and I'll add one more point to that. It's even more astounding that how many of the kids in the rural areas, and we serve a 14 county area primarily, I say that. I mean, anybody that wants to be a part of SAMI could be a part of SAMI. You don't have to be in central Indiana, but these kids that submit from rural communities, a lot of them are farming communities in the outskirts. There's no center point in their county to go and record. It's random. And so a lot of times they're starting from scratch, and it's fine. We don't judge on the recording quality, but it's always something they want to learn. So we landed this grant. We put this team of people together. We got some studio designers, and we had sweat equity on the part of several of our SAMI members, Hans and Brittany Rees, and Neil McTavish, Gibson Wells, who was one of our former winners of the Shirley Martin Scholarship, right. Ethan and Kelsey Bates, I've already mentioned, and all these people, Neil McTavish, all came together. And yes, we had contractors that help us, but there was so much sweat equity and passion, knowing that if we could construct this, we could help the community and grow. You know, for me, you think about, how did Nashville or Asheville or any of these communities with a musical base come alive and sustain that life in music? And the way it happens is people, number one. Number two, taking advantage of opportunities for things such as studios that are encouraging. Rec Room itself, R for recording, E is for education, C stands for community. And that's how it all came together. And we are so blessed. But even during the pandemic, we figured out creative ways to record safely. And I'm so thankful.
That's been an amazing thing, a part of the pandemic. And I hate to sound like, I mean, there are clouds that don't have silver linings. And they just rain like hell on you. But part of one thing sort of offshoot of the pandemic is the workarounds that people have found to continue playing, continue performing, continue creating, and having stuff out there. And part of it is the ability through the technology to do things over distance. And to actually do things in a distance sort of way, so you don't have to necessarily pack a dozen people into a small studio. And that's kind of what Joe is doing right now with his Collabs project. And I got to be a small part of that with a couple of tunes that I helped write, and did those tracks in that Rec Room studio. And it's a really fine facility.
Thank you, Rick.
And I worked with Brittany Rees and Hans, and they know what they're doing in there, which is also nice when when I'm in the room, somebody in there has to know what they're doing. So it was good to have them there. But Joe, talk a little bit about your Collabs project, how you decided to start doing that, and just exactly what that all entails.
Well, the last several albums I've done, folks like yourself, Rick, as you well know, have sent lyrics every now and then without music, and it's like, that's a wonderful opportunity to focus on the music part. So another SAMI member named Mike Rothman, who writes under the pen name Frederick Michaels, he's quite a poet, also a songwriter, and he just sends copious amounts of lyrics and poems. And then I met a woman out here who also a songwriter. I met her through the West Coast Songwriters Association, and so she sent me some lyrics, and so they started to pile up, and it was the pandemic anyway, and you're stuck at home with your guitar. So I started putting these.
Got to do something.
Yeah, exactly. Put these lyrics and poems to music, and I just had a blast because lyrically I could get out of my own head and, into yours or somebody else's, and, and let the words go, let them speak for themselves, and just take them musically somewhere. And then I thought, I'd scheduled to come back to Indiana in June of this year and do some recording with Michael Kelsey down in Broad Ripple, Indiana. He's been my main collaborator in terms of recording for the past 20 years. But that just didn't happen. We haven't traveled, since February. So it's like, well, what can I do? And so I started using just GarageBand on this little iPad that I'm on right now, and, doing guitar vocal demos. And as long as I set it to a click track at a certain beats per minute, then Michael Kelsey in his studio could sync it up and he could work his magic. We call it Kelsification. He does all this instrumentation and arranging of himself in his own studio. And at that point in time, we had these Kelsified tracks, and then it's like, wow, I would love to hear others sing them. And so, one of the first was Scott. He willingly signed on to this thing and sung one of those. And of course, you've now had a chance to sing two of your own songs there, Rick, that I had put to music. And so it's come about in that way, very remotely. Often the idea might have originated in Indiana, come out to California for some music, back to Indiana for an arrangement and vocal recording. And now we're reaching the final mixing stage. And we've got 27 songs
Wow.
that came out of this thing. And looks like we're going to call the album Collaboration, because that's really what it's all about. And I could not be more thrilled and impressed. I mean, Kelsey's always impressed me. If your listeners of your podcast don't know him, michaelkelsey.com, check him out. But these vocal performances have just been astounding. I mean, it's like, I am so thrilled. Anyway, can't wait to launch that to the world. We put a couple of singles out already, and they've had marvelous feedback. And a lot of the recording of those vocals did take place at Rec Room Recording. I'm really happy about that. 100% of the feedback has been positive, just really encouraging. So
That's great.
It's been a great project. Really happy both of you two are involved. Scott's wife, Vicki, recently went into Michael Kelsey's studio and did a number. So you're going to be surprised by what you hear.
We'll have links in the description too to where you can look up Kelsey's things and Joe's and Scott's and what have you.
Okay.
Well, the couple of things that are out right now, can people access them?
They can indeed. Yes, there's a streaming site that, for whatever reason, and a lot of this stuff I don't understand why a particular audience might be attracted to a particular artist. And so there's a site called N1, just the number one, N1M.com. Stands for Number One Music. It's one of many streaming platforms. And for whatever, there's a real young audience there that like my songs. I don't understand, but like about 110,000 listens of my songs. And that's a lot for me. So I launched these originally there. And if you go to N1M.com and search for Joe Peters, you'll find them.
Great. That's great, because we would like to point people out to
Rick, I've got to point out too that Joe's so very humble, but his writing and anything that he touches in collaboration with other people, adds a beautiful spark to it. And the self-loving nature that Joe has for the loving nature that Joe has for other people, but his passion for the music combined with that, the collabs is actually what I would consider to be very much a healing project. I've had musicians who have done very little during this time, and some have done a lot through being creative, as we described. But anyone that was a part of this project, I think, has had some healing with regard to the interaction with other people, the emotional part of it, the human kind, the human nature element of this music has provided an outlet. You know, I recently had one person say to me, he says, you know, Scotty, I haven't really felt like a musician, and being a part of anything like this is soothing to the soul.
Yeah.
And, you know, we create and we want to share. And, you know, these are pictures painted using words.
Well, and calm, decent, compassionate, organized. As you say, Joe is, you know, and you yourself. That's the kind of personality profile you like in a person to lead other people.
And thank you for those kind words, Rick. You know, and
kind of think
for our listeners,
we need more of that on every level.
We do. Less labels, more caring, more love, man.
Yeah.
But for our listeners too, Rick Mummey has a heck of a voice. Ain't that right?
Oh yeah.
I love to hear Rick sing. Oh my gosh. And I can't wait to hear his contributions to this project. And I will tell you the other thing that I have, even the songs that I was a part of this project, I felt a little stretched. I had the bass melody line, but Joe gives us freedom and creativity with that. And then also, you know, writing my harmony parts, and I felt a bit of immense satisfaction and maybe a bit of a stretch for me in doing that, and enhancement as being a part of this. But especially my wife, if she was sitting here next to me, she would tell you that she really grew through it. And she really stretched, and she plays a little accordion on her song. And so as well as the vocals, it's something that she grew from. And so we've all grown, we've all healed. And I can't thank you enough, Joe. And you know what, Joe? Here's the cool part. As Rick's doing this and he's saying this and having this interview, I'm excited, Rick, because I think other people can do this. And it's through relationships that we build these strengths in our communities.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And I think that people can apply a lot of what's being done here to their own situation, whether they're an artist like Joe or somebody who likes to organize and get people together and foster the music and arts in your community. And it's interesting that the recording studio that SAMI has, that's in the Tippecanoe Arts Federation, built by a grant from a health organization, makes really good sense, because the music and the arts are a great part of the physical and mental health of any community, don't you think, Joe?
Certainly, and like Scott was mentioning, I think this project's been a creative outlet for many who have been cooped up for like 7 months, but primal to that is the friendship that goes into it, the relationship. Everybody that's done anything on this is a friend, you know? And those relationships are the door to this bigger thing we call love. And really, that's what this is all about. It's a big love fest. And it just so happens that we've got these wonderful recordings that then, you know, I mean, quite literally will outlive us all. And so that to me is so gratifying.
Yeah, and those of us of a certain age, and I think the three of us are of a certain age.
We are, yeah.
You know, back in our day, if you wanted to like record something you were doing, you had to find some bizarre means of jerry-rigging stuff to, you know, your mom's answering machine and a baby monitor and whatever else to get a really poor recording of what you were doing. So the idea that you can get that done right now and share it with other people who can add things, it's just an amazing deal. And we look forward to collabs coming out. I'm going to point out where people can find you guys, your stuff, and Mike Kelsey's and everybody else, and people can look forward to some more of those 27 collaborations coming out from Joe. So Joe and Scott, we thank you very much. We appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Rick. Thanks for all you do.
Thanks, Rick. It's great to see you both. That's one of these silver linings, that we get to be together even though we're apart.